The autumn wind swept through the small town of Willow Creek, rattling the dry leaves along the sidewalks. Karoline Leavitt had just finished her shift at the local bookstore and was on her way to her favorite cafe, seeking a few quiet moments with a cup of coffee before heading home. As she crossed the town square, she noticed a small gathering forming by the old Veterans Memorial. Curious, Karoline walked closer, and then she saw him. Sitting, hunched on the cold stone steps, was a man, his clothes tattered, his hands trembling from the chill. His once proud posture was broken now, his eyes downcast, avoiding the glances of the passers-by. His backpack lay beside him, battered and worn, adorned with a single patch, a faded American flag. Karoline froze. The man wasn't just any homeless stranger. He was a warrior, a veteran who had once stood tall to protect the very freedoms they now enjoyed. And now he was suffering, invisible to everyone around him. A deep sadness flooded her chest. For a long moment, she could do nothing but watch, stunned into silence by the raw injustice of it all. People hurried past him, pretending not to see. A few looked disgusted. No one stopped. No one cared. Until she did. Taking a breath, Karoline stepped forward. She knelt beside him, her voice gentle but firm. "Hi, my name's Karoline. Are you okay?" The man lifted his eyes slowly, and in them, Karoline saw a world of pain and gratitude. I'm just cold," he whispered, "and tired." Without hesitating, Karoline took off her thick scarf and wrapped it around his shoulders. Then she pulled out her phone and called the local shelter. She stayed with him, talking softly, sharing stories about her life, listening to his memories of faraway deserts and dusty roads, of friends lost and promises made. When the shelter van arrived, Karoline helped him to his feet. Before he climbed in, he turned to her, tears pooling in his eyes. "Thank you," he said hoarsely. "I didn't think anyone still saw me." Karoline smiled, her own heart aching. "I see you," she said, "and I'm not the only one." That night, as she sat by her window with a fresh cup of coffee, Karoline realized something important. Sometimes changing the world didn't start with grand gestures. Sometimes it started with simply seeing the people everyone else chose to ignore and stepping forward. In Willow Creek, word of Karoline's kindness spread. More people started stopping, listening, helping. And maybe, just maybe, a warrior spirit wasn't broken after all, only waiting for someone brave enough to remind him that he still mattered. Over the next few days, Karoline couldn't stop thinking about the man she had helped. His name was Daniel Rivesa, former Marine who had served 2 tours overseas. Life after service had not been kind to him. Struggling with old injuries and even older memories, he had slipped through the cracks of a system meant to protect him. Karoline visited the shelter the following afternoon. She found Daniel sitting in a sunlit corner, quietly reading a worn paperback. His posture was a little straighter, his face cleaner, but the weariness still clung to him like a shadow. When he saw her, he smiled, a real smile this time, small but genuine. "I owe you a coffee," Karoline said lightly, holding up 2 cups. He chuckled, a dry sound, but accepted the cup with shaking hands. They sat together for hours, talking. Karoline learned that Daniel had once dreamed of becoming a history teacher. He loved old Western films, blueberry pie, and had a dog back home named Scout, who had passed away while he was deployed. As the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in streaks of purple and gold, Karoline made a decision. "You know," she said, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly, "there's a part-time job opening at the bookstore, just stocking shelves, keeping things organized. It's nothing fancy, but maybe it's a start." Daniel looked at her, his eyes glassy. "You think they'd hire someone like me?" "I know they would," she said, smiling warmly, "because I'll make sure of it." For the first time in a long time, Daniel Reeves dared to hope. The weeks that followed were not perfect. There were days Daniel struggled to get out of bed, haunted by things Karoline couldn't see. There were moments when the noise of life overwhelmed him, and he would disappear into himself, silent and unreachable. But he always came back. Little by little, he built a new life. At the bookstore, customers grew fond of the quiet man with the kind smile who could recommend the best novels about bravery and sacrifice. Karoline became his anchor, his friend, never pitying him, never treating him like he was broken. One snowy evening, just before Christmas, the town gathered in the square for the annual tree lighting. Karoline stood bundled in her coat, sipping hot cocoa. Daniel joined her, his hands buried deep in his jacket pockets. "You saved me," he said quietly, watching the lights flicker to life. Karoline shook her head. You saved yourself. I just saw you when you needed it most. Snow began to fall, soft and slow. Around them, laughter filled the air, and for once, the world felt whole again. As they stood together under the stars, Karoline realized that stepping forward that day hadn't just changed Daniel's life. It had changed hers too. She had found a friend, a reminder that even the smallest actions could light up the darkest nights. Because sometimes, all it takes to heal a warrior's heart is for someone to see the fight that still lives inside and believe in it.